All right. We're on a kind of a tight timeline. We got about, I've got about 45 minutes to help you build a lead magnet before Richard Linder comes up to talk to you about funnels and funnel structure. Okay, I'm going to erase this. Has everybody got this Wi-Fi thing that needs it? Well, somebody get it. Come on, damn. You've been here a day and a half. What the hell? Okay, is this perrybelcher.com/SSS? So all the slides so far are up here. Okay, at perrybelcher.com/SSS. There's a little directory of them. Does it pull up? Okay, so you can download the slides that we've done so far. And as I complete these, even this batch, take down anything before the ethical bribe. I don't want them to see this stuff I'm going to do before I do it, because then they're going to try to bounce ahead and they're going to screw it all up. All right. So has everybody got that? perrybelcher.com/SSS. Okay. I'm going to erase this. So, Daisy asked me a good question. And there was a good question asked about the guys that were up here with the Expert Whatever's Academy. Just joking. They said, well, doesn't the Academy, somebody asked them, what, isn't the Academy thing ask them to do a lot of work, go to school? Actually, the reason that offer would work for them is people don't see school as ambition. People see school as a stall to ambition. They see it as planning. A lot of people go to school for 12 years so they don't have to enter the workforce as long as their mom and daddy pay for school, right? So, and if the thing that they've got for them going, if they do that school offer and they make it to where they can clip out over 90 days or however long, the ambitious people are going to want to clip out. The less ambitious people are going to want to stay in for a long time because they get to stall longer. But here's what they get to do during that time. Their problem with their offer right now, your problem with your offer right now is the reason everybody doesn't just give you $4,000, because they see that you got top producers. Everybody should just write you a check for $4,000, right? Yeah, huh? Yeah. The reason they don't is because they don't believe they are worthy of being at that level. So what you've got in an academy offer is a period of time to do what? Suspend their beliefs. So the whole time, every time you teach them a class during that academy thing, it needs to be about 70% inspiration and about 30% information, right? Because all you want to do is build their confidence, inspire them, right? Okay, so that's the answer to that question. Daisy asked me a really good question. She said, so I've got three different opportunities. Which one should I choose? You know, and everybody wants to know that. Because if you know me, you know that I'm laser focused. Right. Jenny threw up, you know. Jenny has to keep up with all my crap on a regular basis. But the thing is, she asked me, how would you decide? Well, the way that I look at opportunity now is different than the way I used to look at it even a year ago, okay? Number one criteria for me when I'm looking at three opportunities, I might do one of them. Number one is, what's the size of the market? It's the same question any venture capitalist will ask you if you come in with an idea. Before they ask you your name, what the idea is, anything about it, to save their time, they're going to ask you, what's the size of the market? Because if the market is $1 million, right, the whole market, then they believe that you might, if you did an exemplary job and there's almost no competition, you might get 10% of the market. If the market's a $10 billion market, you might only get 1% of the market, but it's going to be way more than 10% of the $1 million market, right? And they believe wisely, because of experience, and you should too, your odds of getting 1% of a $10 billion market are much, much, much higher than getting 10% of a $1 million market. The whole niche, the super niche business concept is horseshit. I hate to say it, but it is. Now, it's not horseshit for everybody, but it's horseshit for most people. I'm going to go into the Canadian Persian cat lovers club business, right? And I'll dominate that niche, you know? Well, yeah, you will. because the niche is $100,000 a year niche, right? And you can dominate that if you want to make $100,000 a year. So if you're building a lifestyle business and that's your goal, which is not mine, and I don't think there's any such thing, to be frank. But if you're building a lifestyles business, and I'll tell you why I don't believe I believe that's bullshit too in a second. But if you're building a lifestyles business, that's the only reason you want to go in a super small market like that and dominate that market. All right? So that would be the first decision that I would make. The reason I don't believe those businesses exist is because most of those super small markets get consolidated up into somebody else eventually that's a better player. And I don't know a single solitary soul that's been in one of those little niche lifestyle businesses that's been in it for more than about 3 years. Because when you're all comfortable, what you want to do is everything be all comfortable so you can go sit at the beach and kick your heels up. But the problem is the world changes and competitors come along, like me, who engulf your little thing up into my big thing, and then your little thing doesn't exist anymore, and you've been relaxing on the beach, and you've not kept up with technology, and you've not kept up with what's going on in the marketplace, and you got to start all over again at ground zero. So you're better off to start carving out a part of a great big industry, and if you get 1/4 of 1%, good. Next year, you get 1/2 of 1%. The next year, you get 3/4. And the next year, you get 1%. And over time, you might be able to be a 5-10% player, or maybe even a dominating player in a $10-20 billion industry. Pick big industries. You know, Susan's in the sex business. They don't get much bigger than that, right? These guys are in astrology. Great marketplace. Multi-billion-dollar marketplace. Right? Like you guys are in the SEO services business. Not the biggest market in the world. Right? Not to discourage, but you guys are a big player in that market. But even if you were owned 10% of the market, had a 10% market share, you'd probably still only be a $40-50 million company, right? I mean, $40-50 million is fine, but it's hard to get to 10% of. It's hard to get to 10% of anything. Any market, it's hard to get to 10% of, right? The financial trading market, infinite size. The real estate investing market, infinite size. I had a guy, I sent a bunch of offers over to a media buyer the other day, and for him to buy media for us. He's the best media buyer in the world right now, supposedly. And he sent them all back and said, I won't take your money because your offers are not in financial. Your offers are not in financial, health, relationships, or what was it? Do you remember? BizOp. Yeah, they weren't BizOp, like low-level BizOp. There's only about 5 things people buy. There's only about 5 industries in direct marketing that are, personal development. You know, you're not in personal development. It wasn't even BizOp. It wasn't even in the list, I don't think. Was it? Okay. But BizOp, right? Yeah. So, but there were a couple more. But fundamentally, pick big industries. Don't be afraid of it. We're taught the pitch was, back in 5 or 6 years ago in IM, pick these little micro niches, dominate them, and you'll make money. And you can if your goal is job replacement. It absolutely works. But you better pick 2 or 3 and run 2 or 3 simultaneously, because one's going to go away about every year, and you're going to have to onboard another one, right? So that was number 1 criteria, what's the size of the market? Second criteria, what's a competitive landscape? Is there another guy like me playing in that market? Is there another guy that really has got his crap together playing in the market? If there are 3 or 4 or 5 of them, then I got a sub-niche. I got to figure out how I'm going to enter. If I were going to dating market right now, like I've thought about it, because I really thought about going to dating market. I would probably only do, when I looked at it, I was going to do older men, younger women market, and I was going to do the foreign women's market. So basically, how to date Asian chicks, not necessarily foreign, but just foreign ethical groups. So how to date Asian chicks, how to date Hispanic chicks, how to date black chicks, whatever, for the white guy market, right? And that's what I was going to do. If I was going to be in that business, I chose not to be. But I would sub it down that way and kind of Walmart it, right? So let me show you this one thing you can do with niche markets real quick, and then I want to go into this. So Walmart, when Sam Walton started Walmart, the way he started it, if you're going to do sub-niches, do a lot of sub-niches and have them themed, okay? When Sam Walton started Walmart, he went out to little towns of $20,000, 20,000 people and under, right? And he opened Walmart stores. Why? No competition. Competition free, right? So he went in and built a big box retailer, because the big box retailer at the time was Kmart. And Kmart only did metros. That's all they did. They figured their math out, and they only want to do metros. Walmart said, okay, we'll go everywhere Kmart won't go. So they went to, Cullman, Alabama, and they opened a Walmart. And for the first 10 years of Walmart, that's all they did. 10 years. And they built up their buying base. They perfected their models. They perfected their conversion. They perfected their efficiencies. In markets where, even if they weren't efficient, they were still going to win, they were perfecting for a longer term plan. Okay? So what happened was, once Sam believed that he had his buying power up to where it needed to be, and they had their market, they had their plan really, 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 really efficient. By the way, Sam Walton was president of Ben Franklin stores. Anybody ever seen a Ben Franklin store? Ben Franklin, he was president of that company, and he wanted to make it Walmart, and they fired him. Or he quit, actually. But, seen a Ben Franklin store lately? So, the next 10 years, Walton moved in to sub 100,000 people communities. So like, I'm from Paducah, Kentucky. We're the trade hub of Western Kentucky. We've got about 65,000 people in Paducah. We didn't have a Walmart in Paducah for 10 years. They had one in Mayfield and Benton, where Benton's like 5,700 people, had a Walmart. But Paducah didn't have one. Everybody thought it was the craziest thing ever. Guess what? People from Paducah drove to Benton to go to the Walmart. 30 miles, right? I don't know if you remember people doing that or not in your neighborhood or in your towns. But they would drive to go to them, and they'd come back telling the legend of the super cheap prices at Walmart, right? So this lasted for 10 more years. 10 years. And then the 20th anniversary, roughly the 20th anniversary of Walmart opened a Metro store. And now they open a lot of Metro stores. But they're the largest retailer in the world. So if you're gonna be in the sub niche market, if I were gonna approach the dating market, I would probably do it by going out here into all these unserved areas, and I might do how to date Asian chicks, how to date black chicks, how to date deaf chicks, how to date whatever, and learn sign language. They're easy. Just kidding, but whatever. Hey, let me tell you, would dudes buy that? Yeah, they would buy it. They would buy it because they think their odds are better. How to date blind chicks. They'd do it. I promise you, they'd buy it. Right? How to date mute chicks? We'd all buy it. Just kidding. So. Right now, if you so just kidding. So God, that conversation just went to shit. Okay, I don't even remember what I was going to say. But that's probably one way. That's the only way I would approach niche markets, micro niche markets. If you don't have a plan like that, ignore them and just go after the big market. Just go after the big market and try to take your share of it, right? Those are the two ways to do it. I would not do a niche market for the sake of doing a niche market. Okay, so the ethical bribe. We're actually going to start to work now. So the first step to this funnel process, so you kind of know who your guy is now. I'm going to say guy as a generalization, so forgive me that offends anybody, because I wouldn't want to offend any of the sexes. Yeah. So, this is the first step in your funnel, right? It's going to be your bribe. The second step is your tripwire. The next step is your core offer. Your next step is profit maximization. And your last step is lifetime customer value. So that's basically the process. I didn't draw it in a funnel, which I guess would have been easier in retrospect. But that's basically what we're going to walk through. So we're going to do the first step now, which is your ethical bribe, how to bribe your prospects for permission to sell to them. Okay? This is called a lead magnet, Ryan calls it, and he kind of invented that term. It's a great term. But there are a lot of ways to put forward ethical bribes, right? They're not just what I'm going to show you here. You might be in a business that, how many of you have a business that not primarily online? Okay. So you might be, the lead magnet principles, because you're in the home party planning business, right? So your lead magnet might be the same, but a lead magnet could be, a lead magnet was, lose weight now, ask me how. It was a button, right? That was a lead magnet that started a conversation, right? All you really want to do is get people to start a conversation with you, raise their hand and say, yes, I'm interested. For 100 years, this was send a self-addressed stamped envelope to ABC, whatever, right? So in the days of Gary Halbert and all the John Caples and all the guys that have passed, the whole thing of this whole process was done in mail order. It was magical, right? Nobody knew how it worked, but it was simple. You ran a classified ad with a big promise, and people would send in a self-addressed stamped envelope, right? And people did it by the hundreds of thousands. They would stick a sales letter in that self-addressed stamped envelope, send it back out to you, and it was a sales letter with a little bit of content in it and a whole lot of hype, and 10% or so of the people who got the sales letter back would buy the thing if it was done pretty well. And that thing was usually somewhere sub $100. And once they bought the thing, then they got a series of letters following buying the thing to buy a much bigger thing, right? This ain't new. It's been around for a whole long time. Or they get a thing back to join a club that was so much a month for another thing, right? Or whatever the case was. This is not a new process. It's been proven over and over and over again. But the one thing that I think that we have made a total radical change to this process, it's been a breakthrough in the last 12 months for us, is this area, the tripwire area. And I think that's the linchpin to why what we're doing now, we've basically been able to dominate every market we go into today. Are we number one survival property in the world yet? We're number two for sure, right? And biting on number one. Would you say survival's a pretty big market? We're the number two property in the world. How long has Survival Life been alive? Since September. Since September. How many page views did you get last month? 675,000 page views. That wasn't page views. That was visitors. You had right at 3 million page views, right? Would you take a site give you 3 million page views in 5 months, 6 months? How many? Did you say? Anyway, that's above average. Joe back there, who is above average. He's also my son-in-law and probably the best son-in-law a guy could ever have. Good guy. I got lucky on that one. You get lucky. As a parent, if you get a good son-in-law, if you got daughters, getting a good son-in-law is like winning the friggin' lottery. And I did very well with that one. Jury's still out on the other one. We'll see. All right. So, Yeah. Okay. So first thing you do to get a good ethical bribe is to have a freaking clicker that works. Really? Oh, they didn't plug the nub in. I didn't plug the nub in. That's my fault. You ever forget to plug the nub in, guys? Never. Really? Oh, I have to take out the audio. This thing won't fit. Never said that before. Okay. There we go. So buyers approach you, right? That's what everybody wants, right? Buyers approach you. This is the closest you're going to get. This is having somebody else go out in the bar saying, you see that guy over there? You want to go home with him? And having them all say, nah, I'm good. But having that 10 people or 20 people say, 10 or 20 girls and maybe a dude or two go, yeah, I might, Then you got a tighter pool to work with who's much more likely and open to your message. This is about commitment and consistency, okay? Commitment and consistency. Micro commitments, micro steps. And I'm going to show you some math in a little bit that'll freak you out about why this works the way it does. And it freaked me out. I didn't really believe it. So how do you create a great front end, how do you create a great lead magnet? A friend of mine, Dean Jackson, and Joe Polish do a podcast called I Love Marketing. It's really a good podcast. If you don't have it, you should get it. It's the I Love Marketing podcast. Joe is a good guy and a good showman and entertaining. Dean is a freaking genius. He is probably, if I had to count the smartest sales and marketing minds on one hand in the world, Dean Jackson would be on the first 3 fingers. He's super smart. But he created this process called Cheese and Whiskers that I've been following now for the last year or so with our lead magnets. And our average opt-in rate right now is, Richard in here? No, he's not. Our average opt-in rate's if we're not getting a 50% opt-in rate, we're pissed. Our average opt-in rate, I think the last thing that we did was a 65, 67% opt-in rate. Our webinar signups are in the 60 and 70 percentile sign-up rates. How many of you guys doing webinars? Who's getting a 70% sign-up rate? There are not very many people. So, and it's all based on this theory. And here's the theory. There's the little mouse, the mouse on the side. Is that Dean said that a mouse will chew through a 3-foot wall to get to a hunk of cheese. They will. They'll do everything they can to get to it, right? Anything. But they will run with everything they've got at the flicker of a whisker, right? The whisker of the cat being their mortal enemy, right? That means that, so here's the question you got to ask yourself. Is your marketing, when you're asking people to call you or to deal with you as a client, as a customer, are you showing them the cheese? Or are you showing them your whiskers? Right? What are you doing? When, Lance made a point earlier, we were talking about his avatar. The nice guys that aren't the best looking guys in the world, you know what they are? They're a little more cheese because they're take home to mama material. The guys that look like Lance that are players, right, or the peacocky guys, they do okay. But what do they largely attract? Crazy chicks, right? Because they're approaching the process with their whiskers, right? They approach the process with their whiskers. Same with most marketing. Dean did a really good study with for you guys in the real estate business about lake houses for a client. And lake houses sell more than other houses do. Waterfront property tends to turn over more than other property does. So about 30% of the properties a year will list. So everybody else, most realtors, send out a card that say, with their picture on it, like somebody cares, and tells them, I sell more houses than anybody else. I'm awesome. I'm terrific. I can sell your house in however many days. Da, 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 da. What is that? All whiskers. You want to list my house, make a big commission for me. That's your point. That's all you're telling me. Yeah, there's a benefit in there for me, but the benefit's way more weighted towards you, right? And I'm only going to call you if I'm dead set I'm going to sell my place and I think that you're the guy to do it. Then I'm going to call you and 9 other guys and I'm going to shop it, right? And then I'm going to pick the guy that I like the best, right? So what's the cheese of this guy that owns this house right here? What's his cheese? They did all kinds of questions, started asking the market, and figured it out. It was pretty quick. Because when they went out to ask one of these guys, knock on the door, "Hi, my name's Bob with the real estate. I'd like to list your house for sale." Either they said, "No, get away from me," or what was the first question they asked? What do you think it's worth? Right? So they changed the offer completely. They took off the face of the realtor. They sent out a card to everybody in the neighborhood that says, "Find out exactly what your waterfront property is worth today. Go here to Waterfront Property Calculator right now and find out for free, no appraisal charges required." So they're basically pulling data from like Trulia and saying it's worth about this much, to get a full analysis of what the house is worth and what make yours worth more or less. Enter your email address here. We'll send you a little profile sheet to fill out to find out how, right? Now you're flying over a lake with 1,000 houses at night, okay? Imagine, as a realtor, how much more effective you can be if you're flying over the lake with 1,000 houses at night and 74 of them are glowing in the dark, right? With a great big sign on them that says, "I'm thinking about selling," right? If guys going to the bar at night could find the girls that shaved their legs before they went to the bar, if they knew that in advance, right? The ones that brought a toothbrush with them, right? What would you pay for that data? Did you shave your legs before you came out tonight? You got a toothbrush? Hi, my name is Bob. How you doing? That's basically what you're finding out well in advance. And guess what? Now you're selling in a vacuum. You call them up and say, "Hey, this is Bob with Waterfront Property Calculator. We're owned by ABC Realty, and I wanted to call you and talk about your house. God, it's beautiful. When did you guys build that?" "Oh, well, we didn't." Now more cheese. How old is a house? That's one simple way. That's the difference in a good lead magnet and a bad lead magnet. The timeshare business has realized this. So if you go to Florida right now, you know what they're going to give you to come sit in one of those sits? Theme park tickets. They found out that's people's cheese. Nobody wants to hear about buying a condo. Everybody wants free tickets to Disney World. So they use that as a lead magnet. That's not an online lead magnet. That's those little booths that are set up all over all the tourist areas and all the hotels where the guy's sitting there going, "Hey, you guys want to get some free tickets to Disney or free tickets to MGM or free tickets to whatever," right? They'll give away the free tickets. Now that's a tough lead magnet, right? They're giving them that, then bringing them in to sell them something completely different. You don't want to do that. But the point is, that's that buyer's cheese. It's not even related cheese, right? Has nothing to do with the condo process. They just know that if they can get them there, handcuff them to a seat, and make them sit there for 4 hours, they might buy a timeshare. Here's a real world example for, let's say you're in the dry cleaners business, right? So what do dry cleaners want? What's their cheese? Anybody ever been in a dry cleaning business? We found this out but in business, you're kind of looking for, if you're selling to a business, especially on business improvement or business consulting or something along those lines, and you are selling an improvement offer to dry cleaners, here's how I go about it. I have a client in this marketplace, right, that sells marketing services to dry cleaners and automation services to dry cleaners. Because automation actually is more important than marketing, but you get through the door with marketing because they think they want more customers, but really what they want is automation. but you can't tell them they want automation because right now they're too worried about customers. All right? So that's a different animal too. Yeah, David's nodding his head. He's the same way. His dentists think they want more patients. At the end of the day, they don't. They don't want less patients. They just want more money, right? And more status. So the way you get to dry cleaners, so what's a dry cleaner's cheese? You wouldn't know unless you dig into the dry cleaners a little bit, right? Dry cleaners want fire restoration work. Here's why they want it. It comes in when your house catches on fire and it gets smoke. The insurance company pays to have everything in your house dry cleaned, right? You get 400 garments in at one time, right? You usually got 2 or 3 weeks to deliver them, so they can fit them in on slow days, right? They have basically no cost basis in them at all, and it's a $5,000-$6,000 ticket paid by the insurance company, right? So here's a way that you could go about. Here's a cheese and whiskers offer. That's a really good cheese and whiskers offer. So let's say you're a marketer for these guys. You sell to these guys. So not in your normal spammy way of sending an email like we all do. Go to your Gmail account from Jim Smith or Lance, from this Lance R at Gmail, right? Lance A at Gmail. And you send an email to this dry cleaners, and the entire intent of the email is, do you guys do fire restoration work? ? From a Gmail account. You think you're going to get a response back? Yeah. This is their cheese. This is what they want more than anything else in the world, right? They want this. Yes, we do. Great. How many fire restoration jobs could you do a week? Holy shit, I only got 3 this year. Who the hell is this? Oh, we could do a lot, or we could do this many a month, And so we could do a lot. Could you do, or better yet, specific, could you do more than 1 fire restoration job a week? Yeah. Whew, it's getting exciting, right? So, but you may not be talking to the person who's in charge. You may be talking to an employee that's answering the email. Because here's something to write down. If you're selling to businesses. Everybody in every business is charged with bringing money into the business, right? That should be their job, is bringing more money into the business. There's typically only one person in every business charged with sending money out. And most of the time, that's the guy you want to get to, and most of the time you can't get to him. So here's an easy way to get to him. So that's the second mail. Now you're in a conversation and exchange, right? The third mail goes out and says, great, well, that sounds wonderful. It's cool that you can do more than 1 job a week. Now, I need to know how much is your liability insurance coverage, what's your throughput, what chemicals are you using, what kind of equipment do you use, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Questions that cannot be answered by the employee. So what do? They take that email in, they go to the boss. Hey, this guy asked us if we do fire restoration. He wants to know if we can do more than 1 job a week. He asks all these questions. What should I say? The boss rips it out of the hands of the employee and calls you. Now, the client just called you. The client approached you. If you're in a local marketing setting or in a practice marketing setting, or you sell to businesses like that, this is the ideal way to get clients. Now, you got to be smart in how you pivot, because the call is going to be the pivot. Hey, I got this thing. What's this all about? Well, I basically work with dry cleaners, and I work with dry cleaners to connect them to insurance companies. And my problem is most of the dry cleaners I've tried to work with don't have the capacity to do all the work that I can get them from the insurance companies. Can you do a lot of work if I can get you a lot of work from insurance companies? Oh, God, yeah. Are you sure? Tell me about your practice and why I should trust you to be able to do the work. Guy spends 30 minutes on the phone telling you why you need to help him, right? When you go see that guy, is that a pretty good slam dunk? Yeah. That's a difference in a cheese and whiskers offer versus a cheese offer versus a whiskers offer. But the secret was finding the cheese. This is a cheese offer. Ain't no doubt about it. How to sell 100 books a day, right? What do they want more than anything else? Sell 100 books a day. They're going to do the math in their head. That's 36,500 books a year. That's a huge bestseller, right? Simple, simple, simple. You notice how much copy's on there? How to sell 100 books a day on Amazon. That's it. It don't need much. All right? This is the same thing. How much is, what's my business worth? This is a site that we own for our EIN Equity Investors Network. This is how we get leads in for people who want to sell their business. Because we found out they're just like the homeowners. Does that say anything about selling the business? It's just a calculator to figure out how much your business is worth. All right? This is the best cheese and whiskers offer I've heard recently. Miracle Ear is running, they finally got it. Miracle Ear is running a commercial right now. If you can find it, I've tried to look for it on YouTube. I couldn't find it. That they're saying, are you having a hard time hearing? It could just be a wax buildup in your ears. If you want to come in, we'll check it and clean them out for you for free. Just come see us at Miracle Ear. Don't say a damn thing about, hey, you're getting really old. You're probably deaf as a post, and you probably ought to get these hearing aids. Right? Because what's the cheese that they want to find out? They want to come in and find out that they had wax in their ears. And they got it cleaned out, and miraculously they can hear again. How often do you think that happens? Probably not very often. I bet they come in and say, yeah, you're kind of screwed. You need a hearing aid. But by that time, they're going to get 20, 30 times more bees with honey than they are with vinegar. They're going to get a lot more mice to come in with the cheese than they are if they show them the trap. So many times in your marketing, I want you to think about this right now and be honest with yourself. Can any reasonable person look at your marketing and see that it's a mousetrap? How hard is it to determine that what you're showing them is a mousetrap? For most people, it's pretty damn easy. People aren't ignorant anymore. They know that if they're giving you their email, that's a currency, right? They're giving you currency. That's something of value. They want something of value back, right? This is your first transaction with them. That's incredibly important. Make the cheese simple. Make the cheese simple to get to, not a maze, not a trap. All right? This is our number one converting squeeze page right now. I think still, Rich, is that it? Our number one format, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay, cool. I'll buzz through these because he's going to go through a bunch of those. These are simple, but if you'll notice, there's not very much copy. This is Evan Pagan's dating thing. He's got a video on there because he's good on video. If you're good on video, do that. If you're not good on video, don't. I would assume that if he just used the words there, he'd probably do just as well. This is the control that's hard to beat. It's super simple. This has built Motley Fool's business into a couple $100 million. I'm not going to spend much time on these because Richard's going to go through these in depth with you. Sometimes, like this is one that I found was really interesting. We use this on Rapid Filter too. Is our lead magnet is a wholesale price list. What do you want? The price. That's what everybody wants. That's the cheese. How much is it? Can I buy it wholesale? Yeah. How much is it? Opt in to get a wholesale list. When I was in the car business, everybody asked the same thing. Hey, I was driving by last night. I saw that Camaro out front. How much is that? You know what the answer always was? Man, that just came in. I don't know. I don't think they got that in the book yet. Why don't you come down here and let's take a look? I'll have the price by the time you get down here. They want to know the price. If you provide them the cheese, I would say probably if a car dealer would have a cheese page that says, find out what your trade-in's worth before you come in, and they entered in their car and they told them exactly what they were going to get for it, then they'd have a much better chance because that's what everybody wants. Are Auto Traders doing that now? Yeah. CarMax, yeah. So it's a perfect cheese offer. What do you want to know? What are they going to give me for my damn car? Right? You haven't thought about, do you want to buy a car? Well, of course you do. Or you wouldn't be looking at of course you do, or you wouldn't be looking at, you wouldn't be looking at prices. It's the same reason you'd ask a girl, why'd you guys come out tonight? You know? You want to know without saying, hey, you want to buy a car. You're trying to divine that information out of actions they're willing to take. This is Finish. I think they're owned by Procter & Gamble maybe. They do free samples for a lead magnet. Physical products for lead magnet work better than anything, by the way, and nobody does it. Nobody does it. You guys are to be bringing in financial calculators and giving them to your guys so they can figure out how much money they ain't going to make, right? But they want to set and figure on it, right? Whether it's a piece of software, but a physical calculator, would be even better. And they're financial calculators for that sort of stuff. These guys, this guy's not here, are you? You're not here, are you? Wallthings guy? Nope. I'll talk bad about you then. They do something pretty cool. They give away like $100 worth of seafood to 100 people every day. He can give away $100 worth of seafood, and he almost never, well, he doesn't, not almost, individually he almost never loses money, and collectively he never loses money, giving away $100 worth of seafood as a lead magnet. I'm going to give you $100 worth of seafood. I think he charged them for the shipping. That's it. But he gives them $100 worth of seafood and steaks. And the secret to the lead magnet is, guess what? When they get it, you know what they're expecting? Some chinchy-ass shit that tastes awful and there's not much of it, right? You know what they get from him? A great big box full of crap that's should be $300. That's the difference. That's the difference. If the girl goes out with you to get a cup of coffee and she's bored out of her brain, she's not going to go on a date. If she goes out on a date with you and you're a creep, she's not going to sleep with you, right? That's the thing. You've got this opportunity. It's a first transaction. If you don't deliver an extremely high value through every step of this process that Richard's going to go through with you, with most of the value being delivered here, not here. Right? Everybody's got it upside down. All the sexy, cool tricks, the ninja stuff you know the best, it's all here. The fundamentals are back here. What has the most value, honestly? Fundamentals. What sells? The sexy. Everybody tries to sell the sexy in the back for the bigger money. You don't have to do that. Once they've started down the funnel and the dopamine's released, they'll buy the fundamentals for a whole lot more money. All right? But if you start off with boring, you're never going to get them to here. Right? And you need to be willing to take some risks. In the fitness space, I've been telling people this for 5 years. Nobody ain't never done it yet. I doubt if anybody ever will, as y'all are knuckleheads. But a pedometer costs 80 cents from China. They sell online for about $10. Why is anybody buying a pedometer? You know what a pedometer is? Measure your footsteps. Why is anybody buying that? Measure activity, lose weight. Why in the living hell isn't somebody giving those away? They'll spend $4 on a lead or $3 on a lead to download a stupid ebook instead of spending 50 cents on a lead, shipping them a physical thing, knowing that they're in the market, right? So much better. So much better. This is a neat reverse lead magnet page. I'm sure Richard, do you talk about this, Rich? Well, he's not. But basically, it's a calculator. These work really well. So you'll notice there's no opt-in on that page, right? They fill that out. We give them the core results immediately, and they opt in to get advanced results and more stuff. These guys in the astrology business do a thing. How many fields are on your best opt-in form? 10 fields. We would never do that, right? Because we would never do 10 fields on an opt-in form because it seems counterintuitive to us. But the people who fill out the 10 fields, guess who they are? People are going to buy, right? Do you get less with 10 opt-in fields than you get with one opt-in field? Yeah. You get more? Really? So in your market, they think you care more, right? And you're asking more personal information? They're used to it. They don't believe you if you only ask 2 questions. That's interesting perspective, isn't it? They don't believe you if you only ask 2 questions. How are you going to tell them who they are if you? Now, let me give you an amazing astrological reading. I'm going to tell you your future. First, I need data. Give me your first name and email address. I guess that makes sense. This was a pretty interesting piece we did. Software makes an amazing lead magnet. If you're willing to pay to have software developed for $400 or $500, and everybody should, you can give it away and then have this. Notice the opt-in on this page. There's not one. You just click there to download the software. I think physical is probably better, but I think software is the second best. I think everything else is a distant third. All right. The software may be better than physical, honestly, because they get immediate gratification. You don't have to wait to consume it, in order to buy your thing. But here's some things. By the way, when they download that software and they open it on their computer, guess what the first thing that opens is? Registration screen. Do you register software? Yeah, it's not unusual. You know what the registration rate is? Near 100%. Right? That's done, by the way, in Adobe Air, which is the best way to do that. There's also, you can do it with if you're in the internet marketing space, you can do it with WordPress plugins. All right.